And as battling Nancy Pelosi wings her way to Taiwan, she just wants China to know.
I'd like to take out those tanks.
Look out, People's Liberation Army. Back in a second with stuff and the death of a very solid number 2 that Osama bin Laden laid on us. Back after we check your right-way travel, a whole bunch of irons in the fire. Reaction to the Saturday assassination of the current al-Qaeda number 1, Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri. I am not sure when he saw his last patient. He was a trained surgeon. But ironic, by the way, the variant of the Hellfire missile that killed him are scalpels themselves. We'll get to that. I noticed. I don't know. I see they didn't play it again. I wanted to record the whole thing, but this was almost mocking of Biden last night. A certain cable show started this morning with this montage.
Find you and take you out.
Tonight we give thanks to the
superb patriots who serve the United States intelligence community and counterterrorism communities.
Finally, let me say to the families who lost loved ones on 9/11.
Fathers and mothers, husbands, wives, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, friends and co-workers.
We have never forgotten your loss.
May God protect our troops and all those who serve in harm's way.
And may God bless the United States of America.
That was Morning Joe this morning. It's almost disrespectful because it's shining a light on the fact that basically Biden redid that speech from 11 years ago.
Just regurgitated his predecessor, apparently.
And I mean, copied and pasted and then took out the name Osama bin Laden.
That's just lazy. Not taking away from the moment and the dead guy.
And it's funny because they're the effort to absolutely crow about this is overwhelming on a couple Democratic leaning cable channels today because they need a win. They need to polish this turd very badly because he left Afghanistan in such disarray. That now they're actively trying. This is part of the reason they did it right now, was because all these networks are about to run their 1-year anniversary of the horrific disaster by which we departed Afghanistan, up to and including, as I think one of the initial C-17s that left, there was zero security at the airport in the middle of Kabul at Hamid Karzai International Airport. And so Afghan men were just jumping on the landing gear. Did you ever see that footage? On Kennedy last night talking about Nancy Pelosi visiting Taiwan and the various layers there. But then the Fox shined the Bryan Suit shaped light into the South Sound daytime sky. And they said, change, we're moving you up to the A block right off the bat because Ayman al-Zawahiri was killed. And so this was about 25 minutes before the president spoke, and here's a little bit of me speaking, and frankly making a pretty good call here.
And it would put them in our favor bank. I don't know how big of a scalp this is for your lodgepole. You'd have to remind, in 20 minutes, he's going to have to remind people who Ayman al-Zawahiri was. Mm-hmm. Who, by the way, he's a real doctor. He's no Jill Biden.
That's good.
That was a really unnecessary swipe at Joe Biden. By the way,
how dare you?
How do you like my Jeremiah Johnson reference there about your lodgepole and the scalp thing in your lodgepole? So sure enough, the president came shuffling out behind the podium. Oh, here is a little bit of the president having to remind us who this guy was.
My fellow Americans, on Saturday, at my direction, the United States successfully concluded an airstrike in Kabul, Afghanistan, that killed the emir of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri.
See,
is that the correct pronunciation?
Nailed it.
Zawahiri.
And I mean, just for context, folks, he was vice president for 8 years. I mean, he was being paid to know that name, and all that. But But you know what?
Well, the important part is that we got him.
Everyone gets a pass. The New York Times Pentagon correspondent couldn't get it right. Former NATO commander James Stavridis couldn't get it right this morning. And no one's getting it right. And we're past the point of needing to get it right because he's croaked.
I am very happy that we got...
I was going to put him...
He's gone.
Kabul, Afghanistan, that killed the emir of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri.
And so just to put a really gross graphic point on it, he didn't get blowed up. First of all, as I pointed out last night on Kennedy, he wasn't supposed to be there at all because part of our disastrous pullout plan deal with the Taliban from Afghanistan was, okay, we're going to get out disastrously, but no more of these al-Qaeda guys there, and that ain't what happened. He was killed in Kabul, not just in Kabul, but there's one of the Taliban's allies in Pakistan was the Haqqani network, and the son of the founder is now the Minister of the Interior. So yes, he's in charge of justice. Another guy's Minister of Development. This was one of their mansions. This is one of their houses. So here's the number one guy in al-Qaeda. As I pointed out last night, he wasn't hiding out in Tora Bora or even Bora Bora. He was in the middle of Kabul, about a mile away from Hamid Karzai International Airport.
And this sort of confirms some of our greatest fears after the fall of Kabul to the Taliban, which is this area has now become a safe haven again for major players in the terrorist game.
Boy, I hope this disastrous pullout doesn't embolden them to bring their old friends back. Oh, wait, it kind of did. So he wasn't blown up because the Hellfire missile that was fired from the drone, and this much we know, it required dozens and dozens and dozens of flights and probably feet on the ground to establish a daily routine. And as part of his daily routine, he sent some of his many wives to go out and do their forlorn shopping in Kabul and take his daughters to not school. Where they can not learn to read, not learn to write, and all that, because what good is education for a woman? I mean, really. And so there was a point in the day that he consistently was by himself. And then he would come up to the window and look out at Kabul, look at the paradise on earth that the Taliban had made, the whole thing. So he knew that was an opportunity to get a clear shot at him. And by shot, you must know this. Okay, is anyone listening? No one's on? Okay. Don't tell anyone, but in 2017, we debuted a non-explosive Hellfire missile. What it does is, besides bringing, 150 pounds of kinetic kick-ass with it, right before it hits its target, it literally deploys blades outward.
Doesn't sound like a fun way to go.
No, and just because in honor of him being bin Laden's longtime number two, we sent two. We sent a backup. We've killed ISIS guys in Syria, al-Qaeda guys in Yemen with this particular variant of the Hellfire missile, the AGM-114 Romeo 9er X-ray. And it leaves a very, very distinct aftermath. And usually, like in Syria, they've been, going through the roof of a Volkswagen Passat and getting everybody, the driver, the passenger, and both the people in the back seat, just one of them. And it just out of sheer kinetic contact, plus the blades and the whole thing. So he took two of these through an open window. And whatever his family found when they got home wasn't pretty and probably didn't look like Grandpa.
Bits and pieces?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, he was a surgeon. So I think in honor of his love of scalpels, he got the flying scalpel. He got two flying scalpels. So there's that.
And I think most Americans know, but it bears repeating, that Ayman al-Zawahiri was one of the masterminds behind 9/11. He founded al-Qaeda with Osama bin Laden. He was Osama bin Laden's personal doctor. In addition to 9/11, helped plan the attack on the USS Cole, attacks on Americans in Kenya. I think multiple countries.
Yeah, the twin embassy bombing in August of '98 in Tanzania and Kenya. He was his XO. He was Bin Laden's XO and inspiration.
ISIS has been getting a lot of the coverage when it comes to terrorism in the past 10 years or so, but Al-Qaeda was and is still active around the world. And that's the thing. They're really trying to spike the football because Biden needs a win, a real big win. The deal is they're a shadow of themselves. And we should celebrate that he's dead. It would have been nicer had we got him 20 years ago. But anytime a terrorist killer is removed from the face of the earth, you got to applaud that, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And personally, I mean, I know how it works in America. You kill a terrorist, you have to have a press conference. You do a victory lap and all that. Things were way different in World War II for different reasons. But we assassinated Yamamoto. We shot him out of the sky. We just didn't have a press conference about it for a couple reasons. It's not apples to apples on that. But I would have. This is an open account. It's been closed now. I would have put and the Taliban were the ones that confirmed it. They said, I'm an al-Zawahiri was killed. I wouldn't have answered questions at the White House press conference. I would have said, well, it's awful sad for his family, I guess. FAFO, play a hot piano, get your fingers burned, right? America has a long memory. Well, some Americans have a long memory.
And the real question, Brian, now is who replaces Ayman al-Zawahiri?
Really?
Yes, it
Who
is.
cares?
Because if it's some young blood who is way more bloodthirsty than he was aged, 71 years old.
Yeah.
He was probably losing some of his gusto. And
who is going to replace him is, not again, too deep in the weeds on this, but there's talk that the Iranians dropped a dime on him because they're not fans of the Taliban. They dropped a dime on him to us as a favor and said, hey, the Taliban are mocking you. Zawahiri's back in Kabul because the most dynamic young guy is in Iran. And Iran wants to fund al-Qaeda. So, more target practice, I guess, for the flight suit coffee cup crowd. Back in a second, AM 770 with know-it-all. Other stuff, believe it or not, is happening, and we'll get to it here in just a second. Let's get to the work with the right way traffic.
I want it all, and I want it now.
Know-it-all. First thing.
AM 770 Bryan Suits here, and this just in: Al-Qaeda leader killed. President caught without a victory speech. I was kind of surprised by this. MSNBC started at 3 a.m. with a montage of the last time the leader of Al-Qaeda was killed, and the president made the announcement with last night's edition of the leader of Al-Qaeda was killed, and the president makes a live speech from the White House.
Find you and take you out.
Tonight we give thanks to the
superb patriots who serve the United States intelligence community and counterterrorism communities.
Finally, let me say to the families who lost loved ones on 9/11.
Fathers and mothers, husbands, wives, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, friends and co-workers.
We have never forgotten your loss.
May God protect our troops and all those who serve in harm's way.
And may God bless the United States of America.
Ouch. Ouch. So
this is kind of the spirit of the age, though, Brian. Have you ever been sitting in a movie in the theater and you think, where have I seen this film before? That's translating into politics now, where leaders are just regurgitating speeches of the past. I remember Melania Trump borrowed heavily from Michelle Obama's speech at the Democratic Convention and so on and so forth. Some originality would be nice.
Well, what was interesting to me is that if I were the speechwriter, first of all, acknowledge that this guy was vice president when bin Laden was killed, except then you're going to remember that he was the one who advised against it.
Oh, there's that.
He's the one who said, yeah, if you kill him, you'll just make more. Well, okay, we'll kill those too, but not Joe. So he didn't. So then I would say, okay, clean slate. Don't draw anything from the Obama speech from 11 years ago. Just start from anew. You may have forgotten us, but we haven't forgotten you. Something like that. Make it short and sweet. And I'm sick. I have the COVID. And all. But they didn't. So that MSNBC shocked me this morning when they did that kind of mocking mashup. But there you go.